Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Hey everyone.
I think we are live. We're just going to get everything set up, make sure we're live streaming, make sure everything looks and sounds good. Let us know in the comments if you can hear us. Will, Sam, you want to do a quick audio check?
Hey. Testing.
Hey everyone. Can you hear us?
Ooh, it looks like there's even closed captions.
We're like 1 minute or like live closed captions?
Yeah.
Wow, fancy YouTube.
YouTube's getting good.
Hello, everyone watching right now. If you haven't done so yet, throw a chat in the chat. Let us know where you are tuning in from. And also, let us know what course you are in of ours. And we're going to get started with the program in just a minute. Just let people tune in at the top of the hour.
All sorts of courses, Sam. You know what's rough about this, though, Phils? I can't see Sam still.
Oh, yeah.
I can see you in the live stream.
You can see the live stream, but it's kind of delayed.
You're very nice lighting on you, Will.
Delayed. Thanks. I have a double on the key.
You need, you guys just need to get it. You guys got to come over to my place, and then we could do this.
I thought about it, actually.
It's a little far for me. It's a little far for me.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to sit in traffic.
Yeah. All right. Well, hello, Nathan, Ankita, John Michael or Jean-Michel, Surya, Simona, Lori. Lori's in near Sacramento. Pretty close to you, Sam.
There you
go. And in every class. I like
every
that.
single
every
class.
single class. Nice. Jenny Lee. Hello. We've got
St.
London
George.
in the
I love
house.
St. George. Love that place.
Chicago in the house.
I think I saw Nigeria and Uruguay,
India,
and Kenya.
Awesome. Thank you.
All around the world.
All right. Well, it's the top of the hour, so we're going to get going just shortly. Let me silence my cell phone.
Oh, yeah. That's Mike.
Rule number one. Okay, so welcome to the February live stream. We are happy to be here, happy to be back for our second month in a row, and we hope everyone is enjoying their time in our courses, in the group, and here on YouTube. So if you are watching this live on YouTube, this is a live stream we do for our photography students, and we used to do it strictly in the Facebook group that we have, which is approaching 90,000 students, which is insane.
Getting close.
Now we're doing it here on YouTube for everyone. And if you want to join our classes, you can head over to videoschool.com and check out all of our classes, or photographyandfriends.com, where you can find all of our photography specific courses, resources, presets, coaching, all kinds of stuff. But today we're going to be doing just some updates, a Q&A as always, and we're going to be announcing our winners of the last month's street photography contest. But first, Will, Sam, how are you guys doing? Any updates from you guys in the past month?
Sam, you go first.
Since last month, not much has changed. Although I don't remember. Oh, I guess I got a dog. That's a big change.
Yeah.
I guess that hadn't happened yet. Yeah. And yeah, outside of that, it's been a really great, busy start to the year. Lots of projects going on, and just feeling happy and healthy. So yeah. How about you, Will?
Yeah, same. I had a pretty long, like 8-9 day project for a beer company on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And I was doing a lot of photos and video. You know what's really funny is we did our advanced photography or videography course, and we were using the 120 frames per second. I started using that on my small camera for this client, and they loved it. So I started using more of it. So I shot a ton of stuff at 120 frames per second, thanks to our advanced videography course.
I thought your cameras couldn't shoot at 120.
Well, my little guy can.
Oh.
Well, not 4K in HD.
Yeah.
Not 4K. It's 1080. But the video is like internal, so I got to go through these like really cool like breweries, like these big giant industrial breweries, and shoot bottling at like 120 frames per second.
Nice. Yeah.
That's like my big news right now.
My camera it's same, shoots at 1080 for the 120, but I realized that I can shoot 240 too, which is
Whoa.
crazy.
That, yeah.
Which if you follow me on Instagram, you saw my reel from yesterday.
I know, and I saw you posting the like difference between like, you know,
yeah,
that real game is real.
yeah. TK says that you can barely hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm trying I don't want to go over, but anyways, let's dive into what we're going to if anyone, maybe someone else can confirm if you can hear us or not. But let's dive into our presentation, what we're going to be doing today. You can hear me. All
Sorry,
right.
You sound good on my end.
So let's see. Just a couple of quick updates. So if you were in our photo classes in the past month, you probably saw that we released our second Lightroom preset pack. This is a street style pack. Just a reminder, if you're in pretty much any of our photo classes, but definitely our Lightroom classes on Udemy, Skillshare, or on Video School, you get the presets completely free. And so that was added. So check those out. Also, if you're in our Photoshop class, we've been adding some brushes. And so we just launched our first 2 in the past couple months. So check those out. Super excited to be releasing these to our students. It's just kind of a bonus that we add to just help you out and help you be more creative. So check those out in the Photoshop class. And as we mentioned last month, if you do use our presets, tag us on Instagram or wherever you're posting your photos. Let us know, and tag us. We would love to see your work. Another video we posted that if you haven't watched yet, which might be interesting to you, is our 2022 camera chat. So this is an update from our photography masterclass, which was we created that 5 years ago now, the original content, which is crazy. And so we had a camera chat in that where we talked about buying cameras, what cameras we were using. So we had 5 years of history between us in choosing different cameras, upgrading, changing brands, and that's on the YouTube channel. So just if you're not subscribed to our channel right now, just hit that subscribe button, but also go back to the channel, check out our videos, and you can see that video, which is a pretty good one. And that's also in the photography masterclass. Okay, so now on to the exciting stuff. I realized that I did this this presentation backwards, so I'm going to hide the screen so that I can get to our third place winners. We have our top 3 prizes. So we have a bronze, silver, and gold medal prize Olympics prize.
Olympics. Too much watching Winter Olympics.
Yeah. We have 3 prizes, top 3 prizes for our photographers. And man, this is tough. This is tough every single time we do this. I don't know what you guys thought, but Will and Sam,
really
Sam and I were like going back and forth about this, and it's just hard to pick 3, let alone the top photo out of, there were over 100 people that submitted, maybe 200 photos that were submitted last month.
Over 300.
Yeah, it's like it's so hard, guys. but what do you guys think before I show our winners about all of our submissions?
I mean, they're all so good. It was so cool seeing like, you know, different places around the world, of course, but also just like the interpretation of like, you know, street photography and like what people thought was worth snapping while they were out walking. Yeah. It's always so cool to see. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's like a window into humanity and a window into our community, really.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing to see the diversity and range of shots. And also reading some of the little captions that people had, like sharing the moments or sharing, you know, where it was. But so incredibly difficult to say. I mean, I think I got to like my top 25 or something, and I was just like, okay, I have to pick 3 from here. It's
Yeah.
just very, very difficult, and interesting too to sort of see, between the 3 of us, and as we talk through the process of whittling it down, just the different things that called to our attention and our eyes of what made a great photo.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard. There's sometimes those like photos that we each shared our favorite photos, and then there were ones that like I completely missed, and then I was like, wait a second, that is an awesome photo. And there's some that like got a ton of people liking them in the group, but there were ones that kind of like didn't get many likes, but we loved. And so anyways, here are our top 3, and then I'll show you some of our other favorites that we didn't pick, but I don't know, maybe we can give some sort of prize for those ones as well. But if you're a winner, we'll try to reach out to you. But if you can, just message me on Facebook and I'll get the prizes. I think it was $25, $50, and $100, something like that. It'll show up on the screen in a minute. But yeah, and we'll send you an Amazon gift card for that. So our bronze prize, this is our 3rd prize. And Will, I think this was one of your favorite photos. So I'm going to have you talk about this one a little bit. Let me bring it up. It was from Michelle Lee.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so this is congratulations, Michelle, for this photo. I don't know.
Such an awesome photo.
Yeah, I don't know where it was from, but
yeah, I'd love to know where this was actually taken. I mean, this one spoke out to me so much because there's just like a huge story to tell, and there's like, I don't know, this is like such a particular moment. There's like so much going on. Like the guy is like smoking a cigarette, like sort of outdoors but indoors, and he's framed inside like I don't know, 1, 2, 3 different windows, and there's people walking. Some people have masks on, some people don't. Like it goes off into like the darkness. Like the contrast is really cool. The colors are a little muted. I don't know. It evokes like a very specific feeling that I don't know. You know that painting of the American painting of the diner that's on the corner? I forgot the name of that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But that's what this reminds. It's like the same tonality, the same feeling. There's just so much going on, and it's framed perfectly. Like there's leading lines, there's a subject in frame, there's a subject out of frame, there's someone doing something in the back. I don't know. There's just a lot going on, but it's like calm, which I think is just so cool.
Yeah. So congrats, Michelle, on that 3rd prize. All right, let's move on to our silver, which was this one from German Gallego. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing, but we all really like this photo too. And I think this one to me was just super eye-catching in terms of the composition, the negative space. I could not tell if this dude or person is skateboarding. To me, it kind of looks like they're in like a skateboarding position, or they're like walking hunched over, but it's like a shadow. Is it a shadow? Yeah, it's just a shadow, unless it's a silhouette, but I think it's just a shadow. But just the whole photo, it's very simple, but I don't know, it just caught my attention, and we all really liked this composition. Sam, any other thoughts about this one?
Yeah, no, I think a big thing that as we went through these photos, composition, like really, exposure, correctly exposing, like just all the things that we were sort of looking at in terms of like the technical skill and the creative skill. It's just such a unique sort of architecture piece, and then this, perfectly framed character sort of within it. And it's just like a really more minimalistic shot, so different from Michelle's photo, right? Like a very different type of sort of street photography during the day, obviously. But just a really nice composition. So,
and let's move on. So congrats for that silver prize. And then to our top photo, which was one of the top student like photos as well. It kind of lined up with us in terms of just a lot of people really like this photo. So our gold prize goes to Andrea Oprea. This photo of, it looks like a street musician. But just the framing of this shot and everything with the background and the foreground elements, in focus, out of focus, I thought was really eye-catching and a perfect example of a great street scene, street photo. So congrats on this one. Any other thoughts about this?
Yeah, I feel like it's always so interesting to like, I mean, clearly there's another photo in the background on like a billboard or advertisement, and like using another photo on the street to like frame real life, I think is like, there's something interesting about that. And like, you know, this looks like it was done on like a long lens and framed so that, you know, the saxophone player's in the middle. I don't know, it just feels like you could feel being there, and you feel like just how that could be in any big city, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, the moment this was like, I mean, I can tell how difficult this would have been to get this exact shot. I mean, people are walking in and out in front of you. And so to get it where you can see the saxophone and the whole person with, you know, framing with the out of focus people in the foreground,
Yeah.
was like a very good moment to capture.
Yeah, the composition with, you know, either of those people's head like on either side of him, so you can see like his full torso, and he's just such a character. And that's another thing, at least when I'm doing street photography, looking for those sort of characters on the street, or those people that you can have in your frame. And you know, it's just, there's that eye connection, you can see their face. You know, I think a lot of street photos end up being sort of like the backs of people or whatever it is, you know, and
Mhm.
actually getting to really connect
Like
in that
full.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's, you know, these three layers to it. It's a really, really nicely taken photo.
So thank you to everyone who submitted photos. I'm going to go through some of our other top photos. And I think, like always, this is like a personal choice and preference. I think Sam, Will, and we all have unique preferences ourselves. And for everyone out there, you might like different photos as well. But that's part of the beauty of photography. There's something for everyone. But here we just want to give a couple shout outs to all of our other top photos, because there were some really good ones. So let me make sure you can see the whole screen. So Mike, Huang, Christina, these are all amazing photos here, just compositionally, technically. I really like this one on the left of the screen with the umbrella. That's just such a nice moment captured.
Yeah.
And I think while there were some that were, and I'm just going to go through a couple more, there were some that were like very technically beautiful. A lot of the ones that we liked, or at least I like, have more of that storytelling. And here's a couple other ones that frame wise, these two would have been very difficult to capture. It's like a very specific moment for Miraz and Joel right here. Joel, that with that bubble like perfectly framing
In the corner.
Joel's face and getting the whole bubble. It's like, how do you get that shot? That shot's never gonna happen again, just like that. And then same with the man walking in the reflection of this fish tank. He's perfectly in between those fish. It's like that's a pretty good photo. So good job on these ones.
Yeah, I mean, they're all great. That's the thing. It's so hard to pick so many photos out of these. Like, they're all so good.
Yeah, here's a couple more. Masha and Mitch. Mitch, this photo from San Francisco. It's a great classic photo. And then this other one, great one from Masha with the leading lines, a lot of negative space. Love this one.
I love the one in the snow where they're crossing the thing. I think that like that framing to me is like commercial and like high end, but like also it's like street, like I don't know, it's just, you can see the depth.
Yeah. And then
that's a very Will photo. So much.
Yeah, I get totally. And then here's another one from Rim. This one,
I love
major storytelling here, and yeah, a really good photo here. So I think that's the last one, and the next screen is going to be our next month's photo competition. But I just want to say thank you again to everyone who submitted. I think this was fun for us to, as we talked about last live stream, we're not doing the weekly challenges anymore, but I think doing these monthly challenges or contests was fun, and hopefully beneficial for you too, and gave you a little bit of extra time to participate. If you're here watching now, let us know in the chat if you submitted a photo. Just give us a thumbs up or say yes. Would love to hear from you. And I see a chat just asking, where can you submit photos?
Yeah, I want to know how to join the community and how do they submit photos.
Yeah, so let me bring up our next month's contest, which is going to start in March. So our next contest is going to be the wildlife and nature photography contest. So and with these prompts, it's kind of wide open to you to decide what that means to you. Same with like street photography. It was up to you, but obviously here we're looking for something out in nature, some sort of wildlife. And to submit, so this is for our photo students, and you have to be a photo student to join our Photography and Friends community on Facebook. And in all of our classes, at the beginning of the class, there's information on how to join that group. So if you want to participate, if you're in our classes, if you're in the Facebook group, you'll see a post pop up in March, and we always pin these posts to the group announcements or the featured posts at the top. So that's where you can find all of this information, and that you submit your photos in the comments of that post. If you're not in the group yet, like I said, go to the class, any of your photography classes, and there's going to be information at the beginning on how to join the group. And if you're not in any of our classes yet, go to videoschool.com and join one of our photo classes. And that's how you can participate. And yeah, gold prize, $100, silver, 50, and bronze prize, 25. And maybe we'll throw out a free course or something for all of our other favorite photos. And yeah, so that's that. Congrats. Okay, let's see if there's anything else before we get to Q&A. Lori, I don't know if you heard, but where you can only submit in the photo friends group. So that's the only place to submit the photos.
Which is on Facebook.
Which is on Facebook. Yeah. So unfortunately, and this has been an issue for many years now, to keep the group on Facebook or not, because not everyone likes or has a Facebook account, but we've tried to figure out if there's a better option, and at least for now, it's the option that for most students works well. But we're always open to feedback, suggestions, or alternatives if you have any. So let us know in the comments or send us an email.
Course Video School, the content is same?
Yeah, for the most part, the content on Video School courses is going to be the same as on Udemy. Sometimes there's updates that we put on Udemy that don't make it to other platforms, but generally we try to update everything. Ramya says, does wildlife include macro? Yeah, I mean, in terms of technicalities of like what types of shots or cameras or lenses, yeah, I can imagine a nice macro shot of some beautiful plant or even animal being submitted. So yeah, for sure. All right, before we get to Q&A, I have a question for us as the community leaders and also putting it out to all of our students. Something that, and I believe I've kind of maybe talked to Sam and Will about this in the past, but we have this amazing group of students, as I said, almost 90,000 people in this group. And personally, I think it's awesome that what we're doing is teaching you skills to take photos and to learn. Yeah, that improves your lives and everything. But I have this like thought in the back of my mind constantly about like, what can we do even more? What can we do with this group, with this community, to impact the world or impact lives in an even better way? And I don't know the answer to it. And so I'm putting the question out there because I think maybe you two and our community can kind of help us understand, okay, is there anything we can do together as photographers, whether it's some sort of storytelling collaboration, or something that can be something that will help help our community beyond just our classes? So that's just a thought. I don't know if that's something we need to think about longer, but if you are listening or watching and you have any ideas, I'll just throw my one idea out. Is because photography is so much about storytelling, I kind of want, I'm trying to think like, can we push our students to tell a story with their photography, and then maybe coming up with even some sort of like photo book that we publish together.
Cool.
Like imagine like a book that was like 100 student photographers tell their stories, and it's like a story. The challenge is to take one photo or submit one photo and an actual like one page story or something that like represents their life or something about them. I think just having those stories would be something that would be pretty interesting to see. I'm not exactly sure if that's solving this question, but that was like one idea I had. I don't know. That was my rant. Any thoughts? Or do we have to just wrestle with this question for a little bit longer?
I think we have to see, a big part is what really will connect with the community. I mean, it is such a global thing, and like, we've talked so much about like those in-person meetups and whatnot, but it seems like it is such a thing based off of, what ultimately the people in our courses and in this community will really show up for, I guess, because there's close to 90,000 people in the photo and friends group, and we just need to sort of put it out and see what people will really respond to some degree.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Will,
I
any
like the
thoughts?
yeah, I like the idea of I think someone mentioned it, like Zoom classes and stuff. I mean, I think like continuing to build the community internationally and potentially when things get better in person or having more online mentorships will open the doors to people who may not necessarily like have the ability to like be learning photography, because I think at the end of the day, like we're helping people come up in this like sometimes expensive hobby and that could potentially be a job and a moneymaker for a lot of people. So I think continuing to like be able to like help people you know find a skill that they can use to make money or bring them happiness is like the most important thing for me. And I think like a book or teaching online or being in person is like still the road to that, and hopefully it'll develop into something more. But I just love hearing how everyone like loves uh, you know, learning photography, and the amount of students that I've, interacted with that have like turned it into a job to like
Yeah.
support themselves and their families. That's been like
Yeah.
so rad.
And maybe it's trying to get those stories to get people to share those stories more or have them documented, because like you said, that's one of the things that gives me the reason to do what we do.
Totally.
And a lot of it's intangible. Like 90,000 people is a lot of people, and on one hand it's amazing, but it's almost like too many to comprehend. Are we actually, as a community, as a group, as instructors, helping people's lives? And hearing those like individual stories does give me that, and I think
Yeah,
that would be something to try
that's
to
it. Maybe
capture
we just
that.
need to tell those stories, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's in a book or like interviews or like
Mm-hmm.
a
We
documentary.
travel the world meeting all of our
Yeah,
students from the
we
world,
do live
and
meetups all over the world. Let's just travel and meet everybody and go on photo
yeah.
walks and our favorite places and eat lots of good
I,
food.
do you remember that photo? I think it was a photo series or maybe it's video of it's like 1 second around the world
Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
shared something,
Yeah.
and to say like on this day we're all going to go out and take a photo,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone just sort of like we give enough time and prep so that everyone around the world goes and takes a photo on that one day, and it's really
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
share your
Yeah.
photography story with us, share you know wherever you're at with it, and so there's like like a community art project basically.
Yeah.
uh, opposed to
love
just
it.
like
Yeah.
favorite photos. We do it specifically for that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, well, we'll noodle with that a little bit.
Noodle.
So now we're gonna open it up to questions. But while we do that, just a reminder: if you want more resources, head over to photographyandfriends.com. We've got free guides, we've got our podcasts, we've got coaching if you want to take things to the next level and talk one-on-one with Sam or Will. They can help you out with things. Of course, all of our classes, but mostly just a bunch of free stuff that you can get there as well. So check on that. Post your questions if you have any questions for us about photography, about anything in the group. There was a question about the contest. Why don't we use Instagram? The problem with that is because we want to keep it to our photo students. And if we open it up to Instagram, anybody, and that's not a bad thing to have a contest for anybody on Instagram, any public person who wants to participate, but it's just managing it and making sure it's special for our students. That's the issue. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's see. Do we have any questions?
Let's see. I've been tracking. There hasn't been a ton, so they're just starting to come in. But here's the most recent one. Man, making money with photography is really tough. That's like an achievement. Do you guys aggregate paid projects? But yes, it's a way of expression.
I didn't get what the question was.
I don't quite understand what the question is. I think it's do you aggregate paid projects? I mean, all three of us have been paid to shoot. And like more recently, like I do a lot of weddings, so I like get paid to like we survive on teaching you guys and our freelance photography and video work. So yeah, we are fully, working photographer and videographers, and you can do it. It's taken a long time to be in a comfortable place, and all of you have helped that. But yeah, it's very possible to be a photographer and or a videographer and make money off it and still keep it as a hobby and express yourself in ways. It's not easy, and it's going against a lot of traditional jobs, and that can be hard on your family and relationships and, a constant paycheck.
Yeah.
I was talking with a design friend, someone that does like graphic design work this past weekend. And she was telling me about, starting her company and going down this journey of, doing it on her own. Like she has a partner, but like the two of them doing it. And she said that what she found was that it took 5 years for her to have that recognition as a designer. And that someone told her it's going to take at least 10 years to really like be sort of sought after for that. And that in her eyes, the first 5 years were really figuring out how to approach it, what to do with it, like all the nuanced things of running a business, whatnot. And then her friend had basically said, yeah, and now it's going to take another 5 to like really be, successful at it and really have people seeking us out for this work. I don't know if that's necessarily true in terms of timeline, but I do think for myself, yeah, it's taking a decade to really like have some security within it. And even at that, it's not necessarily always there, which is, kind of a scary thing if you're trying to make a living out of it.
I'd say even mentally, like I just now, and I've been doing this like 15 years, am starting to feel like, yeah, I'm a professional photographer. This is like, I can do a good enough job to be paid. Like I still get blown away. I'm like, you want me to what? You want me to travel somewhere and shoot stuff? Like, cool. And you're going to pay me? Like it's crazy.
Yeah. I think the other thing just to talk about is like, if you love photography or anything, it's great to get paid for it and to have it be your job. But sometimes it's nice to have passions that aren't what your work is. Totally. And I could say that with like video creation. Like I make videos all the time for work, but it makes me not want to do that for fun anymore. And I think a lot of us get in this hustle mindset of like everything we do, every passion we have has to turn into a business.
Right.
and it's sometimes nice to just leave some things as strictly a for fun passion that doesn't have to be filmed and shared with the world or turned into a a business or anything like that. So yeah. There was a question about low light photography. How do we what's the secret sauce to reducing noise in a low light photo?
In post,
I think just in general, like how would someone try to not get noise in low light photos?
in creating your photo in the first place, if you're in a low light situation, the best thing obviously is to shoot the lowest ISO you possibly can and still come out with a video or a photo that looks good. And to compensate for that, obviously you need to have like a fast lens, which is like a bigger f-stop, or you need to have a slower shutter. And then to compensate for that, if the shutter's too slow and you don't want the shake, you need a tripod. So it's like it's a trickle down effect. So starting with low noise, low ISO, and then compensate for everything else. Fast lens, slow shutter. You may need a tripod. In post, I've really found the Lightroom noise reduction is actually like pretty good.
Yeah.
So those
Totally.
are getting way better as time goes on.
Yeah. So sometimes that is something where your equipment has limitations and upgrading it's the key. I mean, otherwise it's like trying to not use that high ISO as much as possible.
Yeah.
So that was a good question. Hopefully we answered it.
All right, so got another one. Well, I like someone came up with alphabet challenge. Take a photo of something of each letter.
Yeah.
Um,
We do that in our my kids' photography class.
Do you really? That's cool.
what do you think are the essentials for a good beginner camera kit?
Oh man,
A camera and a lens?
a camera and a lens. But even at that point, it's like a camera that already has a lens attached to it. I if you're serious about photography, I think having like a camera that has interchangeable lenses and like either starting with the kit lens is fine, or forcing yourself to stick with like a 35 millimeter prime, because then you're not worried about zooming in or zooming out. You're just worried about composure and exposure. Yeah. So I don't know, camera, lens, SD card, tripod,
Batteries?
bag, batteries. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
sometimes
basics.
it's nice just to stick that, have one lens, not worry about switching lenses,
Yeah.
even if it's a prime, just one focal length. I mean, that's a challenge that we do ourselves, is just bringing it, try out even going on a trip with one camera and one lens, because it just forces you to try to get creative with that one. And it sometimes results in better photos because you're not worried about trying to get different shots, and you're just stuck on that one camera. It simplifies it.
Anytime you are going to run up to some friction or you have restrictions, you will, as an artist, like creatively figure it out. And so having that friction of one lens, one camera will push you creatively. And I think that's really good for a beginner.
Yeah. Before we get to the next question, hit that like button. Let us know you're watching right now. Hit that like button if you're enjoying our content, our courses. That helps us out, as always. There's a quick question. Chris Hayes asks, is there a difference between noise and grain?
Ooh.
My understanding is probably grain is the term that came from actual film, where it's literally like grain molecules, grain that you see on the film that's developed. And that's what you're seeing when it's got like a higher ISO film stock. And the digital noise is sort of like the digital version of that. Is there something deeper that I'm missing?
No, I mean, I think in the past, film was referred to when you saw that, you called it grain. And nowadays, when you see that sort of same thing happening with high ISOs, we call it noise, just because it's digital versus grain. It's like hearing the like shh from like a TV. That's where it sort of like came from, I think. But I don't know. I think grain is a little bit more granular. Like it's like chunky to me, whereas
Mhm.
noise is a little bit more like dots and can be colored.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Grain doesn't necessarily have colors to it, I guess. So I don't know. I don't know if there's like an actual definition, but
I feel like grain. I typically associate grain with more texture to an
there you
image.
go. Yeah, that's a good way to
Film,
put it.
film grain can have a really nice look to it. Even like really high film grain that is, in a sense, noisy. Like you really see all the dots of the grains. It can be
Texture
so
versus like,
pleasing. Yeah.
yeah, just
Whereas noise is, yeah, it can be RGB, it can be red, green, blue dots. It
Mhm.
can be really, really actually sort of ruin a photo for me personally, just
what a
because
good
it,
question.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. We got a lot of questions here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. What
I
else?
I've been working with black and white recently and have been pretty happy with my black and white conversions. I would be interested in a class or maybe a mentor to critique my work. Is this possible? Will?
Yes. That would be cool. I mean, we've been throwing around the idea of a mentorship program with video school, and we're still working on that. Um, in the sense that, yeah, that would be one of the things we would do is we would sit down with you and go over your photos. And for me, the black and whites would be wonderful to look at because that's pretty much mostly what I like to do. So
Yeah, I mean that brings up a good question for everyone. We mentioned you guys have your coaching options if you want to do one-on-one
yeah,
calls,
we can also do
which
that. Yeah.
you can get at photographyandfriends.com. But you and Sam have talked about a full-blown mentorship program that's 6 months long or 3 months long or something where it's more intensive with that live element, that one-on-one feedback. So if people are interested in that, it would be a paid thing because your time is very valuable. But if you're interested in that, let us know in the chat because that'll inspire these two guys to put it together.
Yeah, but
um,
we do have the coaching where you can schedule an appointment with us, and we'll sit there and go over your portfolio and look at things,
yeah.
which is fun. I love doing that.
All right. Cool.
Are we doing video questions?
Yeah, let's do a video
Sure.
question, and that brings up a
Okay.
good just thing. We last month we proposed the idea of opening a subgroup within the Photography and Friends group for video creators. We've done that, and so if you're in Photography and Friends on Facebook, you can go. I think at the top there's a tab that says subgroups, and there's one for video creators, and it's growing. There's a few hundred people in there, and people have shared their work, and it's a great place to ask questions or post your videos for feedback or inspiration. So yeah, let's get to that question though.
All right. If you use two cameras in an interview setup, is the 180-degree rule important? I.e., both cameras on the same side of the subject versus one on each side of the interviewer. Will, do you want to answer that, or you want me
Yeah,
to?
I mean, you can follow up on it. I mean, the 180-degree rule
Let's
is
explain it. Yeah.
yeah, it's in reference to making sure that you're not flipping your second camera, your second position to the other side of your main camera, your main edit. In the sense where you don't want the person to be on two different sides of the screen to confuse the audience. Where you'd see someone enter on the right side of the screen and then you use another camera and they're entering on the left side of the screen. That's when you start to get confused with the 180-degree rule. It's mostly used in editing more than anything else. So if your second camera makes sense to the edit, I think the 180-degree rule doesn't necessarily matter. It's kind of hard to say because like when you're shooting at the same time, you've created a 180, like no matter what. So the edits are kind of what they are. Something that we talk about in our advanced videography course, actually, that's going to be coming out soon, is that it's just helpful when you're doing an interview just to make sure they're on the same side of the screen or that you can get a frame of reference for wherever the camera is in the room. That usually helps, but it's more of a creative choice because I think you could probably break that rule and get away with it. It's more of a guideline.
I
It
think
just has
it depends
to
on
be some,
how it's framed though, because if the two
well,
cameras are like different enough where it's like a super extreme wide, that might cut better. But if it's like a standard like medium shot and then a little bit of like a medium close up, if you're, and it's confusing to explain it, but if you're cutting between those two shots and like I'm on this side and then I'm talking to the close up and I flip to this way, I feel like that wouldn't work that well, unless you're going for that jarring type of edit.
There's a social media doc where they have like 3 cameras. One's centered, one's the person's way and like has a bunch of room behind him, and the other one's in front of him. And it makes sense because you can tell that they're all in the same place, like you're in the room. But the framing doesn't really necessarily matter because it's an interview. You know that the person is there. It's just creating a feeling for you. So in that sense, like it like the 180 goes out the window. Like it doesn't matter. It's as long as the edit makes sense to the viewer.
Right. I feel like though in traditional terms, because I agree with you. You can't throw it out the door. You can get creative. You can set it up for the edit to, especially in like that documentary, like to get really jarring with how you sort of switch between these things. But if you're doing sort of like a corporate setup or more traditional setup, you want to keep both cameras on the same side. You want your subject, one wide, one tight, looking left to right or looking right to left, and have them matching in that way, because it's more so to punch in on that shot in the traditional setup. Like Will said, though, that can all get thrown out the door and you can get much more creative with that and have some fun with it. But
traditional setup, that's good.
Yeah, because if you get into the edit and all of a sudden you realize that like in one shot they're looking left to right and the other shot they're looking right to left, it's going to be really jarring for your viewers if it's not intentional. Just because you're going to cut between the two and all of a sudden your person's going to be like changing where they're looking, and it could be really strange if it's for
we'll open up a debate thread in the video subgroup.
Yeah, complicated question.
Let's see. There was a question. Let's go. Okay, blah blah blah.
I got one.
You got one?
Yeah. Can we submit old photos which we clicked and are relevant to the subject?
Yeah. For contests, I'm assuming. Yeah. I mean, the essence of the course is the contest is to try to inspire you to go out and take photos. But we're not gonna know unless we look at the metadata somehow and see it was created.
Or if you tell us.
Yeah, but so I guess that's fine.
Lori asks, do you have a course focusing on lighting only, more specifically for speed lights, off-camera lighting, etc.?
Oh, that's a good. So I have another class with another guy, John Hasse. It's called Headshot. I forget what it's called, but if you look for the Headshot course on Video School, he goes pretty deep into the using a speed light. But we should create another one.
We should do one maybe just specifically on lighting. But if you guys want, on our course, on our product photography course, I go pretty deep into a bunch of different levels of DIY photography, speed light, and off-camera flash, as well as on-camera flash.
Okay, so that's in your product photography course.
Product photography, yeah.
And all that can be applied to shooting portraits as well.
Yeah.
All those light techniques.
Stuff, yeah.
I'll make and that link to your guys' course is on Video School, so you can check that one out.
But maybe we should do a course that's just lighting.
People have asked people have asked for this for a while, and maybe we should just add a section
to the masterclass.
We have a little bit of flash photography in the course, but we should probably add a little bit more.
So fast. We could totally do.
Someone asked, speaking of that, Tamara asked, what's a good flash for taking pictures of a wedding in a church setting and a good lens?
Ooh.
I mean, and in terms of flash, honestly, we don't use them that much ourselves, but for event photography, most speed light flashes that you can rotate, can tilt, angle back behind you, so it's not just directly on your subjects. That's what you're gonna want. In terms of like specific models, I would have to look some up.
I use Godex. The Godex 200 has been like my go-to off-camera speed light sort of situation. It's not meant for on camera. It's like a bar, but
Mhm.
it's like plenty powerful. It's plug and play if you get the right connector for a lot of cameras. I shy away from using flashes as much as humanly possible for events and weddings, but mostly because I'm much more of a journalistic run and gun photographer, and like to set up a whole off-camera flash in a church without an assistant is like a whole thing, and it gets in the way of guests, and sometimes it can take away from the ceremony and the event. So it's better to have a long lens that's a really fast lens and a camera with a high ISO. Um, it's just my style, my way of doing it. I know plenty of photographers that use big speed lights in churches and stuff
Mhm.
though. So
In terms of lenses, what would be your go-to lens for weddings?
for weddings, weddings and events, starting with a mid-range fast zoom, like a 24-70, is like probably the best place to start. When you're ready to upgrade from that, a 70-200 2.8, or like a fast, longer lens, really great for that situation, like when you're in a church or you have to be far back. And those two lenses are like hero lenses for me: 24-70 and 70-200 for a wedding. When you're ready to upgrade from that, a portrait lens that can potentially also do macro is nice. So like 100 or a 90. I have an 85, and then I have another 28 that's also a macro lens. So you want to be able to do portraits, like, having that lens is good. And then also being able to do macro, like getting the flowers, the details, the rings, all that kind of stuff. But 24-70, if it's the really nice one on your camera system and it's a 2.8, it'll go a long way for the whole
Yeah.
wedding. And the 7200, I usually only take out when I don't want to be in people's faces and I want to get, candids.
Yeah. So I just saw a chat and I commented back, so I'll mention it. So Gianluca, who had so many photos that ended up as top photos for our weekly challenges, misses the weekly challenges, and it's great
Oh,
to hear that there are people that really like that, because that format is great. It honestly was just too much it ended up being too much effort for the amount of students who were participating for us, and so that's why we've switched to the monthly contest. That being said, if you want the weekly challenges, I have it set up on photographyandfriends.com. If you click the free challenge link, you can sign up and you'll get weekly emails still for an entire year with the prompts. And so you can go out and do those challenges yourself. And yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about, in terms of, if that's, hopefully that's enough to inspire you. I don't think we're going to go back to doing weekly challenges right now where we're posting in the group and all of that. I think part of the problem was Facebook, and again, talking about Facebook, but just when we're posting posts, not many people actually see them, and Facebook only shows certain posts to certain people, and it's just not the best platform for running these types of things. It's kind of what we're dealing with. It's what we have. It's what most people, it's easy for people. So that's why we're on Facebook. But that's one of the reasons why we kind of shied away from doing the weekly challenges as well. Anyways, back to Q&A. But yeah, go to photographyandfriends.com /challenge. I posted that, or you can hit the link on the top of the site.
This one's good for Sam. Secret sauce for tack sharp photos.
Get it, focus on your subject.
Wow.
Probably, typically going to that sweet spot in your lens, which is going to be somewhere between f4, f5.6, f8. Those will typically lead to just really like crispy, clear photos. Granted that you have enough light. The other thing would be, just to, whether it's your autofocus system or if you're manually focusing, to just really, however you're setting it up, whether it's, using a focus point, lining it up on your subject's eye or lining it up on whatever your subject is, and just, allowing your camera to focus on that. If it's low light, it really depends on your camera and its capabilities when it comes to autofocus. But typically, for landscape, for portraits, for things like that, going down, you don't need to shoot all those at f1.4. Shooting at f4, f5.6, is going to get that really crispy look. And that's also why you want to shoot then like more telephoto lenses when doing portraiture and stuff, is because you can shoot it at that higher f-stop, but still with the long lens get that sort of depth of field, that shallow depth of field look. Yeah, that's kind of my main thing.
Nice.
It's hard to say in terms of like what your subject is and all these other things that come into play there, but yeah, I've almost entirely moved to manual focus lenses, so I miss focus all the time. But still learning.
He's not wrong.
Chris Hayes, sorry, I had a follow up about the noise and grain issue. So he's on his Fuji, which I probably have this setting too. There's an option to reduce noise and an option to increase grain. I'm assuming that increasing grain is like a style profile that you can add and do in camera, because Fuji has a lot of those sort of different like film emulation styles.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking the grain option is probably like to add that style, which is like a post-processing thing. And then reducing noise is probably the setting where in camera it's trying to reduce the natural digital noise, not really natural, but the digital noise that's happening with your sensor naturally when you're capturing like low light photos. That's what I'm assuming. All right.
Yeah. Which a lot of that stuff I typically don't do too much in camera. Like I like to shoot raw, and so I'll add it after the fact when I'm editing. But Fuji's great with all those built-in sort of looks and different things. It's really cool if you don't want to have to think about that after the fact.
Ooh, this is a good question. Vanessa asks, what is I'm going to paraphrase. What's a must-have in your camera bag outside of your lenses and your camera?
Ooh.
I mean, lens cleaning stuff, that's like so boring.
I use my shirt.
Yeah, but I've been in a lot of, and this is like maybe the wet, like there's another question about, what else do you have in the wedding thing, is like, I have a little air thing that I have in my wedding kit that I absolutely must have, because sometimes, especially on these full frame mirrorless cameras, when there's no mirror and your full frame sensor is so close to the mount, like you're gonna get dust on the lens. So like having one of those blower air things, must have for sure, and lots of SD cards and lots of batteries.
I mean, the things that I think about, like again, boring. It's like having like a coin or a screwdriver. So if I'm using a tripod, this is maybe more for video. Just like, how many times have I found myself using my keys to try to tighten a
our entire lives
head onto, or the camera onto the tripod plate? So that's like one thing I try to keep in there. But in terms of creativity, I would say maybe an ND filter is something that I like having in my bag for, daytime long exposures. We talk about with our video class, having an ND filter for getting more cinematic video footage during the day in bright light. Sam, anything in your bag? What'd you say?
Honestly,
I was saying a snack when I shoot weddings, like try to put like a Cliff Bar or something in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say like more so like just having water with me, having like, I don't like to carry around a traditional camera bag if I do have one, and even at that, I've been going around a lot lately with just one lens, my camera, maybe an extra battery, and that's it. But if I'm going on like a larger thing, having something to clean the sensor with, a little air blower, having a microfiber cloth, water, snack. That's about it. Not really. There's no like magical secret thing I've been hiding in my camera bag all these years.
Yeah. Did my poll show up in the chat? I just posted a poll about what camera brand do you use. Always a good question. Sorry, guys. Wow. There was no room for Leica. Because no one else is going to have a Leica camera.
It's messed up.
Canon pulls ahead 62% to Nikon's 38%.
Glenn had a good question.
Okay. What's up, Glenn?
We've seen Glenn here for a long time. I'm starting to plan to do videos of my home city region, Vancouver. Is it better to do audio during the video shoot or after when back inside? I will be using my mobile at least to start.
Ooh, like is it like travel videos where you're like narrating stuff, or
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, I would do like the natural sounds that you're filming, obviously like in camera, make sure you're recording that. But if you want to talk to the camera, I found it better and more succinct and probably more interesting to be talking later in edit and post
yeah,
about
I
it. And it
mean
will sound better.
there's like a production quality level that seems more advanced and better if you're there on camera talking. But if you're just going to be shooting stuff, b-roll type scenery stuff, I would also say recording that after the fact, and writing out a proper script maybe would help. Man, we're like at the top of the hour. Can we go like 5 minutes and like try to run through any other
Sure.
questions? I can't believe we're already at 11. And Canon and Nikon tied 38%, 38%. Let's see.
I lost my place in questions.
Does
TK's
ISO 50 make a big difference?
ISO 50. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
what cameras can go to ISO 50?
The Leica can.
They're starting to add it to a lot of cameras. I think it makes a big difference, just in terms of being able to shoot with a more open f-stop in bright light conditions. 50 ISO is basically a full stop less light than 100 ISO, which is already, it's a great tool to have when shooting outdoors and you want to use a shoot wide open at f1.4 or something. So I think it's great. I don't know that you can visually tell a difference in terms of details and noise and grain and stuff, but yeah.
TK asks, I know a lot of people do people photography, but what about having a wildlife photography course? Sam and I have been trying to get Will to do a wildlife photography course for 5 years now.
Years. We really should do that. Maybe I'll.
Yeah, you guys should go do that. That'd be great. I'll film it for you.
Stop bugging you about it.
I mean, just in time for this wildlife photography contest too. All right. Any other questions? Let's see.
I do just really quick for Glenn's question about his video thing. Recently, I got, and then Will got soon after, the wireless Rode mics, Rode Go mics. And like being able to plug those into your camera and like as you're going around and having a lav on and just talking, like it records the audio straight in. I don't know if you guys already brought that up. I think it's like a great tool, and like sometimes there's those moment things. You can always do it after the fact, but if you get it in the moment, it's great as well. But yeah, just an idea there.
This is a good question. Greg says, I shoot a lot of flowers and I have trouble capturing detail on white flowers. That's interesting. That's an interesting question and dilemma. I mean, lighting is going to play a big role. And if you can you're probably out in your neighborhood walking and you see flowers and you take photos, but maybe you experiment, just snip a couple white flowers, bring them to your home office, try to light them yourself. I think that's gonna make a difference.
Or bringing, even if it's sort of a close-up photo of a white flower, you could even bring like a white piece of paper or just something to create some shade on it. It'll still have tons of light because it's outdoors, but at least it'll reduce that a little bit, just so it's not so like piercing white necessarily.
Yeah.
The other option obviously is to just stop way down with your f-stop, just really reduce everything. But the contrast between that white petal and everything else is going to be pretty extreme.
If you're doing macro, stopping down will still look pretty cool though.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, sort of diffusing the light, or just try to get your highlights to expose to the whiteness of the petal.
Paul asks, is there a way to test autofocuses? Maybe you're talking about like different autofocus modes. Take one of my kids, have them run around in the backyard and test out your different autofocus modes.
Phil's not that wrong, actually. Put your camera on a tripod and have someone walk forward and away from you and try practice shooting them. But yeah, or go get Phil's kids.
Yeah. Let's see. Any last questions? Jenna Lee says, "Oh, I don't think this is Jenna Lee. You mentioned in the chat this is her son. Shout out. You have the Rebel XT, and I'm wanting to upgrade. What would you recommend? I am assuming I stick with Canon. Ooh,
The Canon, was it the M50? They're I think Canon's really moving into the mirrorless world, and so I would recommend getting one of the mirrorless ones just because that's
Yeah.
what's going to keep getting updated.
yeah.
Believe it's the M50 is their sort of
Intro.
entry level to that.
I mean, the problem.
Yeah.
Well, if you have, I don't know if you have any lenses. I don't think those are going to convert unless there's a converter. But
There's
at
an
this
adapter.
point, I think if you're really, interested in photography, and if you can afford a mirrorless camera, that might be the way to go. The Canon M50. Yeah.
Or just keep shooting with your XT and the prime lens, and just you can do a lot of great work with that camera still.
Totally. Yeah.
It's I do think like maybe the lens might be something to really change up your style, but
Yeah. I mean, otherwise, you can go with a DSLR and jump up to like I'm not sure how. I mean, the XT is a bit older, so I don't know how like is it the 90D they have out now, or even the 6D, which is their full frame. Those are getting a little bit pricier. I don't think jumping up to like the Rebel like what are they on, T7i, T8i, whatever it is. I don't think jumping up to that's going to make much of a difference for you. So yeah, and of course there's other things too. Are you into video or not? There's other things. We have the camera guide as well. Go to photographyandfriends.com and go to guides, and it's one of the top ones Will put together last year, and we should look at updating it, but it's probably pretty up to date with most models, and that's a good guide to check out. So photographyandfriends.com, guides, the ultimate camera guide, and I'll post a link in the chat as well. Let's see.
Adrian asks, what is most important for you guys when shooting landscape, aperture, shutter, or ISO?
Let's end on this question because that's a really solid one. For landscape, I mean, I think aperture.
Aperture,
yeah, because you're making a decision. Like the others don't really, for landscape, it's not really going to affect like how the photo turns out. You're really like aperture is going to affect the depth of field, and
unless you want like the clouds moving.
Yeah. I guess for long exposure. Yeah.
But then you'd have to use a higher aperture, which is a good thing anyways.
Yeah, because generally you're yeah. I would say for me, landscape, like ISO and shutter are like the things I don't care about unless I just use those to expose properly, unless I'm doing like a long exposure.
Yeah. But typically aperture is the priority.
Aperture would be more important to me for sure.
Paul Cook says Nikon 3000D is having issues with the autofocus. Maybe your question was more like testing to see if it's actually like properly working or if it's like broken or not. Yeah, and that camera is a few, I don't know when that one came out, but it's a little bit older, so autofocus has changed dramatically since that camera came out. So it could just be the technology. So
I would recommend just like go outside when it's fully light outside, and set your camera to auto everything, and just see if you can focus on something that's just a few feet away. But make sure it's like a very specific subject opposed to just everything in focus. Just like put a cup down and just focus on that cup and see if it will focus to it. Outside of that, it just might be a little bit slower with its autofocus opposed to like not working entirely.
Yeah.
And I got a golden retriever pup that we rescued.
Oh my goodness.
He's 11 months old, and he
Right to
was
that
just he was just dreaming actually, and was running in his sleep, and it was adorable.
I think this video would get so many more likes if we could see your pup.
Bodie?
Bodie.
I mean,
Come on, Sam, to close it out. Here, Bodie. Here, Bodie.
I don't know if you can really see him. Bodie.
Oh. Turn your screen just a little bit more so you're centered. Other way. Bodie. All right, man. Ashby has some competition for world's cutest dog. I don't know what meta world photography is.
I'm looking into it.
Are we talking about meta?
I'm not doing it. I won't do it. I'm out.
Oh, meta world, like in the meta world?
Metaverse. Yeah.
Metaverse? Dude, I told Will this. We were doing the videography course. I was like, someone needs to get into the metaverse and be like a wedding photographer in the metaverse. I'm not gonna do it because it sounds dumb, but someone should do it, and they're gonna make a lot of money doing it, which is dumb. But
yeah,
and people are gonna look back on this video and be like, Phil, you're dumb because you're not in the metaverse.
Look who's laughing now.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future we'll have something. My imagination is having.
Meta is Meta a camera type? We're confused. Ramya is explaining.
Meta's a camera type.
Oh, it's a 360 rig.
Oh,
Meta world.
I really want to play.
We don't know.
I really want to play with.
I've never heard of that camera.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, this thing's cool. This thing's super cool.
Because then you shoot it, then you put on your VR goggles, and you're in the metaverse.
True.
All right. Well, that was fun.
All right. On that note, everyone, thank you for being here. Hit that like button, share it with a friend or family. Go to videoschool.com. No one's dumb here except for me. And go to videoschool.com. Get a course. Do the wildlife and nature photography contest. We will post that in March 1st. So you got a little bit of breathing time just to chillax, everyone. Peace and love to everyone around the world. And yeah, Sam will. We'll catch you soon. Advanced videography course is going to be coming out, if we can, in March. Come on, guys, edit your stuff. And aside from that, hit that like button, subscribe, take photos.
Hey, I forgot to show you too my cup. Did you see this?
Almost as cute as Bodie. Not really. My kids ended up on the Dodgers t-ball team, and I'm the assistant coach. So
well,
I literally had to buy a Dodger shirt myself at Dick's Sporting Goods because they weren't gonna like supply it. I can't believe I spent $40 buying a Dodger shirt.
Go Dodgers. Think blue, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, and if anyone knows or has any ideas about, this idea of like expanding our reach or doing something more important in the lives of ourselves as photographers or in each other's, send me a message, post it to the group. Would love to hear your thoughts. All right. Bye, everyone. Cheers. Bye. Bye. Later.